Good afternoon and welcome back. You're watching the Midday Report and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. We will spare no effort to protect every Polish victim and bring to justice those responsible. These were the words of Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who addressed the claims of alleged involvement of individuals from the city of Krakow in Jeffrey Epstein's network of abuse. The head of the Polish government plans to involve prosecutor's office and security service to examine evidence linked to the case.
I'd like to address the Polish public and our ministers over emerging trails linked to Poland coming up in the Epstein investigation. We cannot and will not allow any instance of abuse of Polish children by the organizer of this hellish ring, Mr. Epstein, to go unanswered. We will spare no effort to protect every Polish victim and bring to justice those responsible. We want the victims to not only see the efforts of the Polish state, including redress should the need arise, but to see those responsible for these unspeakable crimes punished to the full extent of the law. This is one of the reasons why Poland will take a very close look at the case. We have preliminary reports regarding suspects from Krakow who informed Mr. Epstein about having a group of Polish women or girls targeted. There are more trails like these in the investigation, which is why I will request the prosecutor's office and our security services to swiftly and meticulously examine all of the documents linked to the case released to the public. Should the need arise, we will ask the US government to make available still unreleased documents if they pertain to potential Polish victims or contain any additional Polish-linked trails.
And now a surprising new development at the Polish Ministry of Defense's Department of Strategy and Planning. A longtime employee of the department was arrested earlier on Tuesday after a lengthy investigation conducted by security services revealed his involvement with Russian intelligence. The individual's unique placement allowed him access to vital information related to Poland's security over the years. The case is still developing, with further arrests possible.
The special military operation took place early Tuesday morning at the headquarters of Ministry of National Defense.
A long-time employee of the Ministry of National Defense has been arrested. The person has been charged for cooperating with foreign intelligence. The case is being handled by the Military Counterintelligence Service, which cooperated during the arrest with the Department for Military Affairs of the National Prosecutor's Office and the military police. The investigation is currently ongoing.
The suspect was reportedly a long-time employee of the Ministry of National Defense's Department of Strategy and Planning, allowing him access to vital information related to Poland's security. According to unofficial information and media reports, secret services have been monitoring the employee's activities for months. The evidence gathered against him is said to be strong and extensive. The case is still developing, and further arrests cannot be ruled out. At the time of reporting, the suspect was being questioned by the 8th Military Department of the District Prosecutor's Office in Warsaw. According to TVP World sources, within the prosecutor's office, more information is expected after 2 p.m. Central European Time.
The EU's plan to rid itself of Russian gas imports has officially become law. From Tuesday, February 3rd, a total ban on Russian gas imports to Europe is in place. Meanwhile, Hungary and Slovakia want to mount a legal challenge against the EU regulation by taking it to the European Court of Justice on procedural grounds. Joining me now from Brussels is our Europe correspondent Alex Cadier. Hello, Alex. So the EU ban on Russian gas comes into effect today. What are the steps of making that change happen?
Yeah, good afternoon, Claudia. This ban, of course, not going to happen all today. It's not like Commission officials are going to turn the big wheels and turn off a gas supply coming into the European Union just today. This starts a phase-out agreed by member states. So on the 25th of April, all contracts for LNG, liquefied natural gas from Russia, will have to end. Then in June, all pipeline gas then ends. That's for short-term contracts only. Now, for longer-term contracts, you're looking at end dates in 2027. The goal is for by the end of 2027, December 2027, every single ounce, every single bit of Russian gas coming into the European Union will be stopped. That is that kind of phased approach, of course, because some European importers, some European governments will be tied into contracts and they don't want to have to face legal repercussions. But if you think what Europe's consumption of gas was just 10 years ago, this is a historic day, a very significant change in Europe's posture, energy consumption, energy security following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Claudia.
Do you think that Hungary and Slovakia have a chance at the EU Court of Justice basing their claims on procedural grounds?
Well, they're certainly going to give it a shot. We heard from the Hungarian foreign minister in the last day saying there are three reasons behind this action. The first is that the cut-off of energy supplies is effectively sanctions in Hungary's perspective, and therefore that can be only agreed at unanimity and not the majority vote that was required to put in place this ban of Russian gas. There's also the fact that energy supply is down to the member states, and so these procedural arguments is what Hungary is going to go to the court for. Again, also in the last 24 hours, we heard from the Energy Commissioner himself, Dan Jorgensen, making it very clear the Commission is confident that this law and this ban will stand up. Let's have a listen.
I can assure everybody that the proposal that we have put forward is 100% legally sound, and that, of course, all member states needs to live up to European legislation, also if you disagree with it.
So for now, that case will rumble on. We will have to wait and see what the results are. But very clearly, today, from now on, Russian gas is banned in the European Union. Claudia.
Thank you so much. Reporting live from Brussels, this was our Europe correspondent, Alex Cadier. And so last night saw another major Russian attack on some of Ukraine's largest cities, plunging Kyiv and Kharkiv into even deeper humanitarian crises. As Russia continues its assault, the U.S. president said on Monday that there might be some good news in his effort to end Russia's nearly 4-year-long war in Ukraine. Here's more.
Russian forces attacked Ukraine's capital Kyiv, its second largest city Kharkiv, and other urban centres early on Tuesday, triggering fires and dealing new blows to energy infrastructure. More than 1,100 residential buildings were left without heating in Kyiv, while authorities in Kharkiv said 800 blocks were left without power. Officials said Russia launched 450 drones and more than 60 missiles overnight, signalling an end to the brief ceasefire on energy infrastructure that was supposed to last a week as temperatures plunged to more than 20 degrees Celsius. Trump on Monday night said there might be some good news in his effort to end Russia's near 4-year war in Ukraine.
I think we're doing very well with Ukraine and Russia. For the first time, I'm saying that. I think we're going to maybe have some good news. And I thought my relationship with President Putin would give us a, much easier road. But there's tremendous hatred between Zelensky and Putin. Tremendous hatred. I mean, it's a shame, but it's taken longer than we thought.
Trump's comments came as the Financial Times reported that protocols have been agreed between Kyiv and Western backers, which would see Russian violations of any future ceasefire plan being met with a military response from Europe and the United States. According to the FT, a Russian breach would prompt a response within 24 hours, starting with a diplomatic warning and any actions by the Ukrainian military necessary to stop the violation. Continued hostilities would trigger involvement of forces from the so-called coalition of the willing. Meanwhile, envoys from Kyiv, Moscow and Washington are set to meet again on Wednesday and Thursday for further peace talks in Abu Dhabi. Experts warn, though, that major obstacles remain, in particular Russia's maximalist territorial demands to hand over land in the eastern Donbass region that it does not control, because it provides a strategic barrier to prevent future Russian advances.
Putting aside everything about the international law, territorial integrity and everything. So in the terms of being protected from other attacks, it is extremely unwise to let these territories out.
NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, who was in Kyiv on Tuesday, has told Ukraine's parliament that a deal could put an end to the Russian war in Ukraine, but that it would require making tough choices.
First, the European Union and now the U.S. has struck a trade deal with India, but it comes with an important caveat. According to U.S. President Donald Trump, New Delhi has agreed to put a complete halt on its purchases of Russian oil. Proceeds from energy sales are used by Moscow to finance its invasion of Ukraine.
This is Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi being cheered on by MPs due to the US-India trade deal. The deal will slash US tariffs for Indian goods from 50 to 18%, while India will bring duties on American goods down to nearly 0%.
The trade deal will benefit the textile sector, especially the garment industry. The US is the biggest market for curtains, bedsheets and other special fabrics, and consumers in the US do hope that products from India reach their country.
But there is another angle to this deal. According to Trump, India will stop buying Russian oil. After the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, India became a major customer for Russian oil, going from virtually zero imports to 1/3 of imports in 2025. Recently, purchases have fallen due to Trump imposing duties on Delhi in August for India's continuing reliance on Russian oil. Despite Trump's actions, sales haven't ceased completely. Modi himself hasn't confirmed whether his government has refused Russian supplies. By finding new customers, Russia has been largely able to keep the volume of its oil exports intact after losing its European clientele due to the war in Ukraine. Trump would also like India to start buying Venezuelan oil again, like it did in the past. Only time will tell whether the US and India will follow through on its partnership.
Thank you very much.
Poland is facing one of its coldest winters in years. Overnight into Tuesday, Warsaw recorded temperatures at -19 degrees Celsius, the coldest since January 2021, when the cold reached as low as -20 degrees Celsius. However, this week, other regions of the country have experienced even colder, more brutal conditions than its capital.
-25 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature documented in some parts of Poland Tuesday morning. With every degree that drops from their thermometers, local residents leave nothing to chance. In order to retain warmth, people have taken matters into their own hands.
You use heating at home naturally. You dress warmly and manage somehow, unfortunately. It is very cold, but we dress warmly and we manage. Everyday life shows us that we must go toe-to-toe with nature.
Aside from requiring extra efforts from Poland's general public to maintain warmth as best as possible, drivers have been warned that they need to demonstrate additional vigilance due to frost that has caused pipeline failures, resulting in traffic disruptions. It is because of these weather conditions that some residents in Gdańsk and Sopot have had their heat supply reduced. The reduction of energy follows the failure of a Gdańsk power plant, which was registered on Monday. The following day, the Gdańsk Heat and Power Company reported that the situation had been stabilized. The company is now taking measures to ensure temperatures don't fall below -15 degrees Celsius in people's homes. Nevertheless, despite the cold and its many hardships, there are those that have managed to enjoy and celebrate the country's more than usual snowfall.
I like it because at least the cyclical nature of the year has been preserved. So, when it's winter, it must be cold. You toughen up a bit. It's a little harder to get around, but I see it in a positive light. You can go sledding, go for a walk, go for a winter's plunge. There are more pros than cons. It's worth saying that winter in Zakopane is quite wonderful. It absolutely does not pay off to go abroad to Switzerland or the Alps. It's the best here.
With tonight expected to be extremely cold again, winter in Poland is far from over. But according to weather forecasts, the coming few days should bring a much-needed thaw.
France's far-right leader Marine Le Pen arrived at a courthouse on Tuesday to listen to the pivotal closing arguments in her appeal trial. Last year, she was found guilty of using EU funds to pay her party's officials with money earmarked for European Parliament assistance. The closing arguments, part of the final hearing in the case, will determine whether Le Pen will be eligible to run for president in 2027. Last April, she was sentenced to 4 years in prison, 2 of which were suspended, and she was slapped with a €100,000 fine and a 5-year ban on holding public office. These rulings won't go into effect until all appeal options have been exhausted. Should the appeal fail, Le Pen won't be able to join the presidential race in 2027, where she would be considered a leading contender. The final verdict is set to be announced before the start of summer. And so this would be all the latest news for now here on the Midday Report. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I hope to see you back here on TVP World for more news and features in just a moment.